Instructions for accessing subtitles in a language other than English are included on our board meetings webpage as well as in the description below. Instrucciones para acceder a los subtítulos en un idioma que no sea el inglés se incluyen en nuestra página web de reuniones de la Junta, así como en la descripción a continuación.
All right, good evening and welcome to the Ross Valley School District Board of Trustees regular meeting. Today is August 6th, 2025, and I'm calling our meeting to order at 6:01. We have 3 trustees present in person at the Ross Valley School District's office at 100 Shaw Drive in San Anselmo. Myself, Rachel Litwack, Anna Marsh, and Shelley Hamilton. Trustees Landels Cobb and Trustees Cassidy are not available today. We also have cabinet members present, Superintendent Tyler Graff, CBO Chris Carson, and our Director of Student Services, Lori O'Connor. This meeting is being live streamed via YouTube, and the link is on our website and on the agenda. There will be a 60-second delay between the meeting and the YouTube live stream. An audio recording of the meeting will be made available to the public on our district website within 72 hours following the meeting. And the first item on our agenda is closed session. I'm going to identify our closed session topics. We have conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9, subdivision D2 or 3, special education program dispute, 1 case, student SSID 626-351-6351. And at this point, I will call for public comment on the closed session agenda item. We have no public here to comment, so I will recess us to closed session at 6:02. All right, and we recess, or we are reporting our recess. We're returning from our closed session. We're exiting recess at 6:35. And report out from closed session. We voted all three in favor of special education program dispute, 1 case for student SSID 626-351-6351. Our next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance and Democratic Reflection. I do not have a Democratic Reflection today. I don't know if anyone else does. No? All right. If you would like to join me for the pledge, please stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright. Next agenda item is to adopt our agenda and time allocations. There is no public here for public comment. Does anybody have any changes or adjustments to this?
No. I make a motion to adopt the agenda and time allocations as stated.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And Shelley?
Oh, yes, aye.
Anna?
Aye.
And Rachel, aye. All right, we have an adopted agenda and time allocations. Our next agenda item is decommunication. We have public comment regarding items not on the agenda for open session. We have no public here to comment, so I'll move on to item 2, correspondence and communication to the board. There are 2 attachments there. I think we've all received them and had a chance to read them, so thank you to the community for replying or responding to us. And our next item is 3, announcements by labor unions, CSEA, RVTA. Seeing no representatives present, I will move on. Our next item is presentation and or action items. The first item here under E1 is Ross Valley School District's 45-day district budget update in response to the state's 2025-26 final budget adoption. Chris.
This is me. And so thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening related to our 45-day budget revision. This is not something that is absolutely required, but is recommended if you have material changes in the adopted budget as a result of the governor's final approval of the budget. And this year we do have several items that have impacted our budget, and we did have an idea about those when we adopted the budget, so I talked about those pretty well during our final meeting in June as well. So I don't have a formal presentation, but what I do want to say is that if you look at the spreadsheet that I have provided, there's no formal SACS reports that are required for the 45-day budget revision. And so really all you have to do is just provide information showing what the changes are. And so what I have done is shown that we have two items that have gone into our restricted state revenues, which are student support and professional development discretionary block grant, which is a new dollar amount for us, which is calculated at $315 per ADA approximately. These are approximations because we don't have the final numbers yet. And also the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant, which is, it sounds like it's a lot of dollars, but it's really a small amount. It's $114 per unduplicated pupils looking at our 2021 and 22 fiscal year. So it goes back in time. And so when looking at it, it's a total of 500, and let me just enlarge this a bit. Between the two, it's $538,312. It is only in restricted, the restricted general fund, does not impact our unrestricted funds at all. And all I've done at this particular point is put in the revenue. And the reason for that is we are in the process of working through the expenses. We are thinking that we would use approximately half of those to maintain our counseling services for one additional year. And then the other half of those funds, we would look at how we would spend them. They are only one time. They're on the categorical side. Again, so I want to point that out. And so there is no impact in terms of our unrestricted reserve percentage at this particular point. It would be very small when it does happen because it's just increases our total expenses when we put those in. So the other thing I want to point out is I know that there's been some critique. Well, some people have asked that we add back positions that we had cut as part of the budget advisory committee process and as part of our adopted budget. We had cut $510,000 out of the general fund, which was made up of the guest support teachers, GSTs, and also our counseling services. $510,000 plus $200,000 in services in the final 2 years of our budget, and that's really more asking for funding through the PTAs and PTOs. And so, if we were to do that, where we would cut those dollars out of our or add the expenses back in, what that would do to our reserves, we would go from our percentage where we're over 6.4%, where we would drop down to 0.41%.
In the third year out.
0.41, which is under the 3% required minimum reserve. And so I want to point out that what would happen at that point if we were to do that, I would be bringing the budget to include those expenses, and then I would have to include another item where I ask the board what the process is going to be to cut the dollars to get us above the 3%. So it doesn't really make sense that we would do that at this particular point. And the other thing that I think is important to note is that I am working on closing the books right now. We're deep into that, and I don't see any dollars that are going to fall out of our budget the way we have in the past. And the reason for that is the last 2 years, we've really tightened the screws on our budget. It was very, very intentional based upon the feedback we received from the Budget Advisory Committee and the community. So I think it's going to be something really close to our budget, our final budget. So I did want to point that out. So what we're asking you this evening is just to approve the revised budget that you have in front of you, which is adding the $536,000.
So just for sake here, usually what we do after something's presented, like the budget item is just presented, we have a chance to ask questions of staff, cabinet, whoever's presenting, and then we go for public comment, and then we come up here and we discuss it. So if you have questions right now, this is the time to ask of Chris or Tyler, whoever you would like to ask the questions from, and we go to public comment based on what they say, then we can have a discussion up here and go over everything. Okay. Just to have an idea of the format.
Thank you.
So anyone have questions for Chris?
I was gonna ask questions, but you answered them specifically, and I'm just gonna reiterate to make sure I understood correctly the things I had questions. Specifically, the revisions that we're seeing are in the restricted funding. So it's not like there was an adjustment in COLA or something like that was an overall budget. It's specifically restricted to those two block grant areas, which have then specific restricted uses for those funds. Okay, so that was one clarification that I thought I heard. And then the second thing that I heard, which again is also helpful, was that we then can, you and the staff will then go back and look at how to allocate those additional block grants for one-time uses rather than ongoing positions. Because while we have that additional money, it's not an ongoing, it's just a one-time block grant that we then will use for a one-time or 1 year or 2 year, but not an ongoing, which would then incur, like you said, the 3 year.
We would not be adding new positions.
We wouldn't be adding new positions.
Correct.
So I think one piece of context to add about this particular block grant is that it was in the governor's budget, then it was out of the budget, and then it was in the budget, and then it was out of the budget, and it was unclear about how much it was going to be until just recently it got put in. So we didn't really have this information when we brought the budget to you earlier in the year. So now we have the information, and there was dispute whether this block grant was going to happen or not because of the budget back and forth at the state. So we didn't include it initially. However, we had a sneaking suspicion it might be approved, and Chris did some math on what he thought the number might be. And in our budget advisory committee meeting, we essentially kind of had an assumption that this might come down the pike and we could use it to save cutting our counselors, not this coming year, but the following year. We have a grant to save our counselors this year, and this is going to save our counselors for next year. So if someone's asking like, hey, you just got $500,000 of extra money, bring things back. We've already brought 2 things back. We've already brought 2 counselors back for next year. Now we have half the money, about $250,000. We'll come to the board here in another few weeks with a proposal for you around that other $250,000. And I think what Chris is saying is that if we didn't make the cuts that we did make, that we wouldn't be at 6% in the third year out, we'd be at 0.04, and then we'd be required to make cuts. So we kind of are in this catch-22. We'd proactively make the cuts and not have MCUE tell us to make the cuts, or we can not make the cuts and then have MCUE tell us to make the cuts.
Right.
We have to make the cuts either way.
Right. And just one of the things that the state has done budget-wise over the years, long
Is this
term.
discussion or questions?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, hold on to that. Hold on.
Hold on to that.
Do any more questions?
Yes.
Clarification questions.
Just clarification.
Sorry, hold on to
Nope.
that. Okay.
I won't.
Okay. All right.
No additional questions.
That's good. Do you have public comment on this item?
Yeah.
So you have 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes. You can get a warning ding.
Hi, PJ Pfeffer, Manor parent. Kind of a bummer I missed the presentation, getting here at 6:40. But I think what I heard from some of the questions is that the money isn't being allocated, at least not in full, to offset the loss. I think I heard Tyler mention that it's going to supplement, to bring back the counselors in the second year out, who are now, I assume, are the ones on the like second grant fund. You know, they were on the budget and then are currently off of it. I also heard about the funds being in the restricted budget, but the bulk of the funds being added, being part of the supplemental long acronym block grant. You know, it's a discretionary block grant. I don't, you know, it's not the first year they've had it, and while it is restricted funds, the funding restrictions are extremely broad, including any expenses that would support budget items A through G, which is just anything that goes towards meeting the UC requirements, and it specifically says on the California education department's website that can go to salaries, instructors. Like it's very broad if you read the language. And we transfer on average $6.2 million from our unrestricted general fund to our restricted general fund each year in the budget, because there isn't enough money in the restricted fund to cover all the expenses that that we can allocate restricted funds to. So it seems to me that just because the money's in the restricted fund does not mean that we can't just say that these monies are going towards classes broadly and reduce the amount of money that we're transferring from the general fund. And so it does not seem to me that there really should be any restriction on, there's no legal or statutory restriction that's practically affecting the board's ability to allocate this money as it chooses. Thanks.
And we have no more public here for public comment, so I will bring it back to the board for discussion. Shelley, do you want to jump back on that thought you did? Sorry.
No, I appreciate the comments. And one of the things that we've seen over the years, especially when the state moved from what used to be budgets replete with block grants and program funded, it was very, very much program funded by here's money for this program, and there's all these little different program buckets, and they were a lot more like we're funded it for 3 years or 5. There was this time restricted grants, and then the state moved to more heard a lot of districts saying we need more flexibility, and that's when we moved to the LCFF funding, which was much more unrestricted funding of if you've got this amount of money, you have to accomplish these things with it. And there's a lot more flexibility in the last, I don't know, what'd you say, 3 to 5 years, maybe 5 years. It's been creeping back toward these block grant things, which personally I think makes it much more difficult.
They're really difficult because they're one time.
Yeah.
So if I'm thinking about, if the team wants to implement math intervention across the school district to support struggling students, we do that for 1 year and then we got to fire people.
Right.
So the one-time funds make it really difficult, which is why Chris, myself, and the budget advisory committee essentially made the decision that if we have this block grant money, we're going to use it to not cut the counselors. Right. So half of that money is already allocated for next year for counselors. The other half we've got an idea that we're going to bring to the board in a few weeks.
So sometimes the restrictions are by type of use, and sometimes the restriction is by 1 time or 2 years or
That's
whatever. It's a time restriction
Okay.
versus a specific use restriction. So when we talk about restricted funds, it might be one of the other of those.
And you can't budget for long-term expenses like salary increases with just one-time funds because it's one-time.
And there is a conversation from a union perspective, and I haven't heard this specifically from our union, but more broadly from the state, is that teachers want to see salary increases on the salary schedule as opposed to one-time kind of bonuses. And I think that there's a tension there. I was actually talking with the superintendent recently where their union actually would rather have a very small portion on schedule rather than a larger dollar amount off schedule. And it's just, there's some philosophical things from a union perspective about getting things on schedule versus, one time, here's a check for $1,000 or $500 like we've done over the past few years. We've done the on schedule plus a little bit off schedule. So we need to talk with our union about that when we get into negotiations in September. But
What is the larger trend that's with the state that's things are going back to the block? Why is that happening?
It's easier to get through the legislature on a 1-by-1 basis, I think, and you can have different, elected folks who want to see more of this or it's a.
It all started in 2007 when we were going through the state fiscal crisis. What they started doing is they took a whole bunch of programs and they moved them into tiers. So you had tier 1, 2, 3, and they ended up sweeping a lot of those into what was known as the revenue limit at that time. Then in 2011, 2012, Governor Brown instituted what he called subsidiarity, which he wanted to eliminate all categoricals with the exception of your key ones like special ed and those types of things. And so again, he rolled things into the LCFF when he created the LCFF. And then what has happened is it really started in earnest when we had the COVID shutdown. We started getting huge numbers of grants.
Block group for specific, here's for
Yes.
masks, and here's for
Yes.
computers, and here's for that kind of thing.
And then the legislature and the governor have found that there's a better appetite for that than what there had been as a result of the shutdown.
And in the instance of COVID, having a block grant that helps with PPE, for instance,
One-time thing.
is
That
great,
makes sense.
right? Like
Yeah.
you can buy that thing. You don't need to buy it ongoing forever. However, a lot of these block grants also had to do with learning loss. And then a lot of districts made decisions, ours included, to increase counseling services, increase intervention services, increase other personnel. And you're seeing across the state declining enrollment, so less money, plus the COVID money's going away, but you've built up your staff. So people are shutting down schools, people are laying off staff, and it's not unique to us, it's everywhere. The thing that's unique to us is that we're at the bottom of the funding. We have the least amount of funding the state will give, essentially.
And
Thanks
I
for
think
context.
I think this district was also very thoughtful and cognizant about knowing that the COVID money was not a forever type of thing, and so the staffing that I think we did was super for COVID was very effective, but was also with an eye to knowing that it wasn't going to be forever. There's a lot of other districts who are in a lot deeper hot water because
Like $1 million layoffs.
yeah,
It's not
they
fitting.
just didn't realize that's or whatever.
Right.
Interesting. Okay. Well, is there any further discussion of you? No, I will entertain a motion on this one.
Okay. I'll make a motion to. One second, let me get my language out here. I'll make a motion to approve the proposed 45-day budget revision as presented by staff.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Great. Shelley?
Aye.
And Anna?
Aye.
And Rachel, aye. Thank you, Chris. All right, our next item is Proposition 28, Arts and Music in Schools Funding Annual Report for Fiscal Year 2024-25.
Thank you. So with Proposition 28, it was designed to provide supplemental art and music programs to school districts. Many districts weren't offering those types of programs, which is different than where the Ross Valley School District was in. And so again, it's supplemental, and the requirement is that we annually just provide information on how we're providing services and increasing staff, because that's really the purpose of it. We're supposed to spend 80% of the dollars on new staff, providing new programs, which is difficult when you're offering robust programs already. And so the remaining 20% goes towards materials and supplies, and also indirect costs, 1% of the 20. So
I just want to underscore what Chris just mentioned there. This money for us is very difficult to spend. You essentially have to quit a program for a year and then bring it back, and then we can fund it. And because Yes has been such a great beneficiary to the district, that we have these amazing art and music programs. So it's hard to build more because we're already doing so much TK through 8. So I think in a normal district that maybe doesn't have a band program or, a certificated art teacher in elementary school, this money's pretty easy to spend. But in our case, it's pretty challenging.
What's the definition of new?
Like if we had a ceramics course that we were already running and the teacher left, or for whatever reason we didn't have that program for a year, then it would be new in the third year.
And
So
it
we
would
basically
have,
have to like end a program,
Wait-
not serve
wait a
kids for a
year.
year, and then bring it back. And it's just like, this is one of those ones where these block grants can be really helpful depending on your context of your district. And our context, it's not very helpful.
and in terms of new, it also, from an auditor standpoint, what they're going to do is they're going to look at our staffing in arts and music last year and in the current year. And they're going to see if you have new staff.
So it's not just a shift in the curriculum. Like
Correct.
one year the ceramics was focused on folk art, and the next year it's focused on modernism. Yeah.
If I have the same
Like,
number of
okay.
staff and I've now
Staff is-
charged those staff to this program, they're going to deny it as a
Okay.
valid expense.
And the fact that they've had this be 80% staff is a really tough one for us. If we had more flexibility in materials and supplies, we could get all kinds of great things for our middle school program and for our elementary art teachers, like, but the 20%, and then when you take this money, divide it by each of the 5 schools, the materials and supplies money is pretty negligible,
Bummer.
unfortunately.
Just unfortunate because a lot of people voted for it. So they're like, oh, we're supporting the arts and whatever.
Right.
We all thought this is great. And then, yes, had the whole backlash of like, well, we passed
don't
Prop
have
28,
to-
we don't have to pay
right.
as much. But no.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's not fantastic.
And this goes back to the programs that you were asking about. This is a categorical program, and I have to, it's very difficult on me. I have to track it by school site because there's a specific allocation for each school, and then down to the 20%. And then we have up to 3 years to spend it, so I have to also track it by year.
What's the total amount of this grant, Chris? Do you
It's
know?
approximately $250,000.
So 250,000. You start dividing that by 5 schools, a little bit more for White Hill.
By 3 years.
You're looking at $50,000, and then you're looking at 20% of that $50,000. So you're looking at $10,000 for supplies, and then you have $40,000 for staffing for a single school. What can you do with $40,000 for staffing?
Right.
You can get a 0.2 FTE, a quarter of a staff member, or a little bit more.
And do you have to book this as revenue? I mean, you have to, because we got the grant, you have to book it. So-
Show it as revenue, yes.
So it shows up as there's this money, but it's really phantom kind of.
Right.
I am spending some of the dollars, but eventually we're going to potentially have to return some of it. And this is not unique in terms of issues spending it.
With
Many
block
districts in this community, in Marin County in particular, have had these similar issues.
And again, issues of block grants.
Right. Why do you say, well, it could be returned? Right, it may have to be returned. Why do you say that?
Because if we don't spend it, if we don't spend the 80% after the 3 years,
Gotcha.
then we would owe those dollars back.
Is that built into future budgets or do?
What I would do is I would not record it necessarily as a revenue. It might be sitting in deferred revenue, or I would record it as a liability going out. So it's not going to impact our budget negatively.
Okay, I'm thinking like if that
No.
the third year
Right, I
percentage, like oh my god,
It will not
freaking
negatively
me out.
impact.
Like even 250,000 is gonna go away. I'm like, okay.
What do we need to do on this particular agenda?
Public comment first, and then we can have a discussion period. Do we have no public comment? Okay. Do we have any discussion on this? I mean, I feel like those questions kind of like ended any conversation. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know about this and just had a little education there. Wow. Well, thank you, Chris, for planning ahead. This isn't,
Is this something where like we could hire one new teacher that would like instead of doing a 0.2 FTE for one school, could do one new hire that goes around and helps all the
Right.
schools? So then like because I know that maybe an art teacher could use some help, like especially back to school night or when there's like those huge
oh, yeah.
turns to get all that work done.
I actually just sent a calendar invite to Julia and Chris, and I are going to sit down and kind of try to find a strategic way to spend this.
Yeah.
I know our middle school teachers are really eager to spend this because they have colleagues in other districts with more money where it's having a big impact, and they're looking at their colleagues going like, wait, Prop 28 is really helping that school district out. Why isn't it helping us out? So I think the three of us need to get together and get as strategic as possible, and then get whatever, our teachers need.
I like that idea of a support,
A
support teacher.
Yeah, like either for
Or a
music
co-
or art.
Like we've had like, English language coaches or those kinds of folks, like even having an arts coach, support teacher.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would, and I love the idea, and I think the three of us will chat about what's needed, and that'll be part of the conversation. I want to be aggressive with spending the money, but I don't want it to start encroaching on the general fund. So
Yes.
if we hire someone, it needs to be fully within that grant.
Yeah,
Otherwise, we
completely.
can't do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
With our-
100% on board with that.
I'm thinking of spending
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
not others.
Yes.
Does the county offer any sort of strategy for, so amongst districts, so you can like compare with
Chris, have you heard of what other districts are doing with Prop 28?
It actually has not been a topic of conversation at the CBO level.
Seems like that would
We can
be
reach out
helpful,
and
yeah.
ask. Yeah.
I get the feeling that most of them are in our same position because we all have foundations here.
Yeah.
And I think they're probably getting funding.
I do know that several years ago, the conversation was surrounding having it be a new program in several districts not knowing how they were going to spend it, if at all. I'm thinking of two in particular.
And at the high school, it's pretty easy to do because you can just add a new section. You have one more class.
Right.
So you might have a ceramics teacher who's got a full 5 sections. You can just give her a 6th section, and now she's working 1.2 FTE. Your FTE is increasing, and
Adding a
there's
section,
more
which is
programs
new.
for
Right.
kids. So,
Right.
but in an elementary school, you can't do that.
But at Whitehill, we could do that, right?
And we just cut a section of art because we had a teacher who was teaching 1.2 who didn't want to teach 1.2 anymore. So then you've got to go out and find a teacher who's going to teach a 0.2, and it's hard to find a certificated art teacher in general,
We've
let
tried.
alone someone who wants to work a quarter time or half time. But the three of us will meet and we'll get strategic. We'll reach out to our art and music teachers and see what we can do, because I don't really want to send money back to the state if we can.
No,
Especially if it's for art and music.
Yeah. Exactly.
absolutely.
So if we don't have any more discussion, I'm happy to entertain a motion on this item.
What is the? Just make a motion to approve Prop 28 for the fiscal year 24-25.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Great. Anna?
Aye.
Shelby?
Aye.
And Rachel, aye. Thank you, Chris. Okay, our next item is consent actions. The first item is recommended approval of the certificated classified administrative personnel actions. There's no public here to comment on that. Actually, on this one, we can do a motion for all of them.
Yep.
And the second item here is recommended approval of YMCA lease agreements for facility space at Brookside, Hidden Valley Manor, and Wade Thomas Elementary Schools for the 2024-25 year. So if there's no public comment here, no public to comment. There's no.
Actually, that should be 25-26.
Oh, should it be? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we need to make that addition or change.
Oh, all of the attachments say 25, 26. It's just in
Okay. Just in the
summary.
agenda item.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's interesting. It's just
And it
on the
doesn't-
left, but it's right on the actual
It's-
agenda item.
Exactly. The background is correct. It says 25, 26 on the background, and it says it on all of the attachments, so it's just in that little
All right.
subject line. I'd make a motion to approve the consent items.
I'll second.
Great. I will. Shy. Yes.
Aye.
Rachel, aye. Okay, so those are approved. Thank you. And our next item is board business, committee updates, reports from, and announcements by trustees. Any activity?
I'm trying to scan through. It's been pretty quiet summertime. Committees are going to start up again. Get moving.
Nothing yet. All right. I was at the Yes board meeting last night. I was on Zoom. It's been a long week for me. They They did a welcome because it's the new start of the year for them. So they did a welcome to the 25, 26 board members who are new and returning. Everyone introduced themselves. They did a review of last year's budget, fundraising, and their plans from last year. They talked about their budget school, like their back to school awareness and fall campaign. They discussed current projects and initiatives, and they're currently planning for their Yes Fest, which is like Fallapalooza, which used to be Battle of the Bands, but it's going to be Yes Fest this year, which is their big like fundraiser for the year. And then they did some roundtable updates with program leads. I guess there's some open seats, so Hidden Valley, Manor, they both need a Yes lead at those two schools. So if anybody is interested, those two have spots that need to be filled. They're looking for an events lead, theater lead, and those can come from anywhere at any of the 5 schools. They also have a couple executive committee openings for business partnership leads and secretary, and those can also come from any school. And then one of the key things is that they almost hit $1 million fundraising last year, which is the first time, it's like the most that they've ever come up with. So they were really close. They were able to fully fund the ask that we had for them for last year with $826,351. So that's like the first time that we fully funded it. Yes has funded it since 2019. And it was the largest amount that they've fundraised to date. So I think they were just under $1 million at $985,635. So they were 95.63%.
Awesome.
And do you know if that was, because at the end of the school year, they were still a bit away from that. Was it families? Was there private? Do you have any idea?
I don't, they didn't break it out for us. You could probably reach out to them and they could let you know.
Yeah, curious.
Yeah, Laura would probably be able to help you with that. So we have RVSD has a bigger ask of a yes for this coming school year, and they're planning to meet our fundraising, the fundraising goal we asked for them. But then they're also going to try and get over because they have operating expenses, so they need to make sure that they're, bringing in enough that they can cover that. But they were also really pleased that because they were very profitable with their theater department side of things, that they're actually going to be reinvesting in that to like improve things for the kids' experience with their theater program. So they were super excited about that.
Great.
Yeah. And then I think that was most of it. I had to be early because I had a 6:30 meeting this morning. So there you go. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
All right. And with that, I will move to approval of regular meeting minutes for July 16th, 2025.
I don't know that we can because it's just the 2 of us tonight.
Hannah was here.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She stepped on.
You stepped on in the middle.
I was there.
That's right.
She's official. She was there.
I know. I was
Swore her in.
This
She
was the
swore.
first one, so you're right. Yeah, we have 3.
Do we have any changes or edits or comments? No, there's no public here for comment, so I'm happy to entertain a motion on this.
The only,
Did you find something?
where was it that you, because the reason that came up was I was looking at attendees and the list of board trustees just had us on it, but again,
the start
it's
of the
at
meeting.
the start of the meeting, and then it's later that you came in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
But I was there the whole time.
Yeah.
You were. You were there the whole time listening to everything. Yeah.
D2 board. Tyler Swore and Raina Marsh. There you go. Just fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's great then.
All right, we're covered.
Looks good.
All right.
I'd make a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes for July 16th, 2025.
Great. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Shelley.
Aye.
Anna.
Aye.
Rachel. Aye. All right. Our next item is H, Superintendent Cabinet Report.
Great. Yeah, I've got a pretty quick one tonight. We had our admin retreat yesterday, which was absolutely lovely to have the principals back with the cabinet, and we had some really good conversations. I left feeling really proud to be part of this team. We have some amazing administrators. All of our administrators are amazing here in this district, and the quality and depth of our conversations were impressive. I was really, really proud of what we talked about. And we talked about the Racial Equity Action Plan, talking a little bit about maybe revising that and making sure we stay really actionable with that and some of the actions that we are completing here. We reviewed the LCAP and talked about site actions and district actions to make sure all those goals come alive this year. And then we talked a lot about our own team goals. As a leadership team, we read Dare to Lead last year and 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And we actually did an assessment, and we actually did individual personality assessments. And we used those personality assessments and our knowledge of the 2 books to kind of say, and the assessment we did to say, okay, where are we strong? Where we need to make some improvements as a team? And they gave some good feedback, and I have a goal to bring to them at the next A-team meeting to set. And really the team talked about accountability as the thing that we're working on as a team. So setting really clear expectations, holding ourselves accountable for whatever those collective expectations were, and then circling back to monitor, did we meet our expectation? If not, do we need to adjust the expectation? So what that requires is that we're giving each other feedback and having really honest conversations, and the team seems up to it. So I'm really excited about that. I attended a good portion of the ELPD today that Julia, I'm sure, will talk a little bit more in detail about. And then just prepping the final details of the start of the school year. This is kind of like this week and next week are the big intense week for district office administrators, with principals coming back and teachers coming back next week. So just prepping up for that. And those are kind of the 3 big things for me. Julie?
Yeah, definitely. Lots of prep work going on. We have, I think, more boxes have been delivered than ever in the history of this district between TK classrooms, K classrooms, a new K-5 ELA curriculum, a new Whitehall curriculum for math. And it's just been such an amazing team effort. Lynn Marion and Jenny Wright are the ones that do the ordering and tracking of shipments and making sure we're getting everything in, but Chris and Des and the M&O department and then the business department left their desks to come and unbox and organize the new reading materials. So just, it's amazing to see how much help there is amongst the team, and I really appreciated that. I loved our retreat, just totally concur with Tyler. I left feeling just super excited for the year ahead and for our team and the leaders in this district and the incredible work they do with their teachers and teacher leaders. So that was wonderful. And then today's EL education training was fabulous. We, through this process of adopting the program, as you know, partnered with Larkspur Corte Madera, and they joined us here today. So it was both superintendents and myself and my counterpart in Larkspur, and then all of their principals, all of our principals and the instructional coaches. And we got a really thoughtful overview of the program, really understanding the different parts of it, and then spent a lot of time talking about how you enact change in the district and the kinds of, all of the different ways in which you need to support those who are doing the big heavy lifting of making those changes. And then just really, I just keep getting excited about this particular program. Takes all of these things that we've been working on. We've been talking about high impact instructional practices. That's a foundation of the program. We talk about engagement for students, and they have these sets of engagement protocols that are really wonderful. As you know, equity work and diversifying our curriculum and is really important to us. And there are these beautiful, authentic texts that are representative of all kinds of folk.
And the depth and the rigor of that program
Yes.
is really impressive. I think our community and our students will really rise to the rigor that program
High
has.
quality work is like one of the cornerstones of really engaging students. And in fact, one of the things that teachers grapple with when they talk about the program and where they're having a hard time is actually saying, this is really hard for my kids. Because the depth of knowledge that's embedded in the program is really high. So anyways, very, very excited for that. And I just, hiring Lori Ross, thank you. We're moving right along. We've got a couple of vacancies. One actually just came vacant last week, but we're already interviewing and have a couple of strong candidates. And So we've been, and then Lori's been partnering with our HR department and getting a couple of her positions filled, and some classified positions. And so it's, again, really good team effort, and we'll be ready. We'll be ready for that first day of school.
Can I ask you a question? I love your enthusiasm, and we talked about this in the one-on-one or two-on-one that we had.
Yeah.
Are you in the process, Tyler and Julia, writing something, an announcement about all of this? Because it is so exciting, and I think all of the family should hear it.
Yes, we actually, and our instructional coach, Melina, who's really leading the bulk of this effort around the adoption. We actually have a meeting tomorrow, but we want to create kind of a slides for back to school night so that every teacher is getting the same message out there. Principals will be messaging out, DO will be messaging out. There was some talk about parent evening, where it would be a little bit more hands-on for parents to really learn about the program. So
Great.
Absolutely.
Great.
And I'll do a few Instagram posts that are, you know, a little bit more surface level, but I think we will put out some, you know, more depth for folks in a newsletter.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah, that would be fun. I remember the time you did a hands-on math thing with us, and I was just envisioning something like that with the ELA and parents at back to school night, like that. I think that's a great, you've been able to do.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, which is fun and engaging.
Lori, you want to share any updates?
Yeah, well, I'm 1 month in. I'm doing a lot of listening and learning, and I've talked to so many people, and it's wonderful. We have such an amazing team here. I was welcomed with open arms here in the district office. It feels so good. I feel such a sense of belonging. And just we have talented, innovative, creative people here. And as I'm talking to teachers and service providers and principals, it's so exciting. There's so much momentum and positivity. And so I'm excited to partner. Tyler keeps saying, slow down, slow down, slow down. And I'm like, I know, but I'm so excited. So anyway, so I'm thrilled. I do want to recognize our ESY Extended School Year program. We had about 25 kids go through that program, some of our special needs students, and so we had a great, it was very successful. I went out and visited a few times. It was really nice. Also, with regards to hiring, we are trying to pull out all the stops and trying to think of some innovative posting strategies and things like that, like reaching out to our community colleges and our universities for students to come join us. Also, we did post on Indeed, and we got the blessing from Chris to spend a little bit of money, but we certainly recouped that because we're getting applicants coming in and trying to hire internally instead of through agencies. So that's really exciting. Tyler and I met with Holly Wade, who's going to be doing our special education review, and we met together, and then Holly and I met together, and we have a really great game plan for her to come out and do some observations, and me to come along as well. So it'll be a really good orientation to all the services and supports that were provided, and then also figure out a game plan to bring back to our special education advisory committee. Super exciting. And then I just, as the school year starts, I have meetings set with our special ed department in general, and then I've broken out every school psychologists, OTs, PTs. So I'm going to be meeting with everybody to let them know that their voice is valued and that I'm big on collaboration. And so we can get some good ideas going and to support kids. So so I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Chris?
We've been really busy in the maintenance and operations division. So, Brookside, we have the bridge that's currently at the Division of State Architecture. We expect comments back from them in the next week and a half, and then we'll start that in earnest, what we're doing with that and reaching out to the school community on that. Hidden Valley, we have mostly finished the roof at the multi-purpose room that has been replaced. They're just waiting for one small part and then they'll finish that up. We have painted the center area, which is the middle building that includes the kindergarten and the YMCA. And they are currently in process of working on a shade structure in the TKK area. They poured the posts last week, and they should start putting the actual shade structure up there beginning tomorrow. Manor, we have a new fence in the TKK area by the library. We have a play structure in the TKK area that's been replaced. We're in the process of finalizing the turf area around it, and then that will be open. We are starting, we started asphalt in that same area, TKK area, beginning today, and that should be done by Friday. And at Wade Thomas, we have done 2 fences, one along Woodland, which includes a push gate, and also one by the library to prevent people from walking through the middle of the campus during school hours. We have done crack filling in the front area to remove trip hazards. We've done concrete grinding throughout the campus, and we have replaced carpets in four rooms and added carpet in one. And we have completed the asphalt work as of today. There, we do in both the asphalt work at Manor and in Wade Thomas. We're going to have to come back and do some sealing of it in during the October break. We have one day where we can get in there and do that. So, but for the most part, it's done. And so that's exciting because that removed some serious trip hazards, both on the lower play area as well as right above it along the walkway where the classrooms are and the tables. So that's been done. At White Hill, we have been working on the library back overhang area and getting that redone, and we'll be adding some corrugated roofing material on there to help prevent rain from falling on kids there. We are in the process of beginning the 100 building painting. So the 100 building is a 6th grade wing, and so that should be painted in the next few days. And we also have been working on the overhang there at the 100 building as well. So there's been a tremendous amount of work for such a small department. So it's really really the hard work of the maintenance and operations staff and Des and Johnny and all of the staff in particular. So
yeah, I want to give a huge shout out to Chris, Des, Sean, Johnny, and Casey, and the whole custodial team. This is not a regular summer. We had actually, I mean, it's not a regular summer for Ed Services either, with all those deliveries that they've been doing for K and ELA and all that. But we had extra money from the sale of Deer Park, and that has given us the opportunity to do more for our facilities, which is really wonderful. And the amount of work that the team has been doing, in addition to all the contracts that had to get set up, and it's just a lot of work for a skeleton crew to do. And when you walk on campuses, you'll notice it. It's a big deal. We wish we could do more, given more time and more money, but what we've done, I think, is pretty significant, and the team with Chris's leadership deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's very exciting.
That would be another great thing to just let everybody know about in the back to school stuff. You know?
Yeah. I've been hearing from some parents already how they've been on campus and it looks good.
And we will probably bring this back for an actual board item where Des will come in and provide pictures, and so you can actually see some of the work. But that will probably be at the end of September, beginning of October.
That's great.
If I can just add one more, I just name from our technology department, Sean and Jorge spent the summer installing new projectors in our classroom. So our projectors had gotten, some of them had gotten to a place where they were so faint, like it was very difficult to see the images. And teachers use them a lot for slide decks that help to, move through lessons and that sort of thing. So we weren't able to replace all of them. And so what they did was they used, I think, a light meter to determine which ones were the worst. And so, Jorge, is it 58 projectors you replaced?
I think so.
Yeah, something like that. And that was just the two of them doing all of that.
That wasn't contracted out work.
Yeah.
That was two
So
people.
It's a huge accomplishment,
Wow.
and when you see the ones where they've been replaced, they are lovely, like crisp.
And this isn't just like unplug one and plug a new one in. It's actually like
Wiring.
drilling into like mounting, putting mounts on. It's pretty heavy duty work, and all of that was with grant funded one-time money, so not unrestricted dollars. And we were going to do more of them, but because of the budget situation, we actually tailored back and did a little bit less than we had initially anticipated. So trying to be really fiscally responsible while improving the things that we can.
Awesome. Very
Excited
thoughtful.
for our teachers to get in there and see it.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, I've got future board topics and board direction. It kind of sounds like there's some interest here in seeing some of this information getting out to the public, so I think you guys got that. Something I wanted to bring up that Tyler had mentioned, we've been trying to do like 2 newsletters a year, like mailed, like fold out mailers. I can write one for this upcoming one, but I didn't know if somebody else on the board would be interested in writing one for the spring edition, so it's not just Rachel talking all the time. I would very much appreciate it if someone else would like to write something. So just something to think of for the future, but
Yeah, and
There's
Teresa's on, we're gathering all the information, she's helping to do the layout. So we're trying to get that out here in the next few weeks. So Rachel already has written a piece from the board, and I'd love to have someone else from the board share something we'll probably do something in January.
And you said these are mailers?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
either future topics, direction.
When does parcel tax conversations come back on?
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Can I hide now?
I'm sorry. I'm
What I can do is I can bring an update to maybe maybe the next meeting, because I have a plan right now. The initial plan is, and maybe at a next board meeting we can talk about feedback from the board and adjustments to the plan, but doing 2 similar town halls, so kind of the same presentation with some activities at table groups plus some questions and answers. 2 of those, so if you attended one you really wouldn't need to attend the second one, and then from that kind of identifying a couple of pro parcel tax folks and a couple of people that have some critiques but want a good faith effort to have their voices heard, to make adjustments, getting a small group of maybe 10 to 15 people to sit in this room to, if the assumption is this needs to pass, how do we get there? And the $3 million mark is the mark that we had set last year. I firmly believe that that's the right number. And in that conversation, if we need to adjust that down a little bit or increase it a little bit, like that, I think is for that. And then the other conversation we would have in that group, obviously before board approval, is, per square foot, per parcel. So that team would kind of wrestle with that idea, would bring those ideas to the board, and you all would either approve or adjust or give feedback from there. So the timing on that is the town halls will happen in September. The working group will probably happen in October, 2 or 3 meetings, and we'll probably bring something to the board in late November or really early January.
What's the deadline?
Well, if we're going for the November 2026 election, which is what the feedback we heard from all the surveys seemed to be, we have like 3 months before that where you have to file. So you're talking like August.
As in a year from November, which would be the,
So it's a lot more lead time.
and
basically.
that's just one
There's-
more bite at the apple, or
there's-
you then have a June after that?
We have a June, next June, and then a November 26th. We have 2 options to go.
We should
Got it.
discuss that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be part of that discussion
Mhm.
of timing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that would be definitely, sounds like it's a future board topic.
Yeah, so I think
Yes.
what I'll do is bring that to the next board meeting, just give you an update on my plan.
Great.
Yeah.
With a little bit more detail than I just gave you. You all can give me feedback or direction from there on that plan, and then we'll bring something back after that working group in November.
Okay.
That's where we can discuss, do you wanna do June, do you wanna do next November? Do you want the number to be X based on the working
Structure.
group, or the structure based on the working group feedback, and go from there.
That sounds great.
something I wanted to ask about was the AEC conference, in Sacramento.
The CSBA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually we have an item come up for that for when any trustees are interested in going. Will we approve funds for that?
Great.
So if we can get that.
We
We have to approve it before, spending money on that. So that way, if anyone's interested, we can bring that up and vote on it.
Yep.
When is that coming up?
It's in December.
In
It's the first.
I think it's like the
the
third,
first-
fourth, fifth, or
something
fourth,
like
fifth,
that.
It's gonna
sixth,
be
or
up
something
here
like
in
that.
It's in
Sacramento.
Sacramento.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
not as easy as San Francisco. But
No, but
still better than
better
San
than
Diego.
LA
or
or
San
San
Diego.
Diego.
Definitely.
and that'd be good.
I think it would be really good for us to go.
I think so too.
It's falling right on the tail end of my paternity leave, so I gave my wife a little bit of a heads up about that. And because if we do get a group to go, I'd love to be there and have us all kind of do some learning together.
That'd be great.
Do we have any other future topics or direction? Do we have an idea of when we're gonna get the students from different schools to give presentations here?
Oh, yeah, the schedule for the different schools.
And maybe this was just, I don't know, there's background to this, I don't know, but the board meeting that is on the night where there's 3 back to school nights,
Oh,
one of
them. We had
The
some of
next
them
one.
moved.
are we, okay,
There's
Yeah.
one.
there's one now?
There's
Yeah.
one now.
One
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Because I knew you had one conflict with Wade Thomas. I was like, this isn't gonna work.
Right.
Is that changed on the calendar invites?
It should. We have the August 20th. We have Hidden Valley's back to school night,
Okay.
and that's it.
I was like, ooh, this is not
You
good.
did that for me.
August 20th. Oh, yeah, Hidden Valley.
Okay.
Okay.
And as far as agenda items for that meeting, we should be cognizant not to put things, right, that parents, I don't know.
We'll talk about
Big-
CSBA.
Big to get.
We will talk about parcel tax plan as well. And I don't know what the other agenda items are.
Sometimes there's like routine things where there's a timing where you always have to, in
Have
certain
to do
months,
it,
you have
sure.
to do these things.
Right.
So it might just be a bunch
Yeah.
of routine.
We typically do like an opening of school slide deck as well, where we, kind of celebrate what happened the first week or so.
I may not.
And then we've got a piggyback contract. That's going to be a relatively short board meeting as well. I think the biggest one based on this feedback is the parcel tax plan.
Yeah, I think it's just important that we don't have agenda items that Hidden Valley families would want to be here for.
And I didn't like you to be out of town on that one. Just heads up.
I can
Otherwise,
push the parcel tax one
I think that might be best.
to,
is that too late?
I can do the September 3rd because I have the first parcel tax town hall on the 10th. So it would still be leading before that. So if you had direction on what you wanted that town hall to look like, it would still be there. So I'll move that one to 9.
And if
Yeah,
everybody else
great.
and if everybody else is gonna be here, I can, and you wanna keep it in August, I can listen to that and just give you feedback.
Great.
I just was concerned about Hidden Valley, if there's parents there who want to help with
Oh,
the parcel tax.
exactly.
Everyone's
That's a
be
good
present,
point.
because they're
Yeah.
gonna go to the Hidden back to school night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do the 3rd.
Yeah.
There's no, I don't see conflicts on that
Okay.
night. And then the next following Wednesday will be the first town hall.
Great.
Yeah.
I think that's a good adjustment.
Great. Yeah.
And
Good
then-
feedback.
I don't know who does it, but there's some schools where I always get like the stuff from their principals or their PTOs or whatever, and then there's some schools where I don't. Is there a way to get all, if we're interested as a trustee, to get on those lists? Because it is helpful to know what's going on, like if there's events I can pop into.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
would like to also.
I think you're just on the Parent Square. Do they all come through Parent Square?
I was getting emails on my trustee account.
No, but the emails are sent out through a Parent Square list, and then you just have to have your trustee email on the Parent Square list of places that get sent out, right? It's not just individual lists.
I think maybe we'll look into it, and all trustees will get all schools' newsletters.
Okay.
Okay, just want to double check that I got everything here. There's a request to have some of the facilities updates on the mailer that we send out and other ways to, promote that. A discussion around CSBA attendance next meeting on the 20th. An initial plan on parcel tax community engagement, I should say. It's not about the parcel tax, it's about the community. It's like the work up to the
Preliminary
decision.
workup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. On the 3rd. Scheduling dates for the school presentations, that's on the list. And then making sure all trustees have access to all the school newsletters.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on, do we have a meeting debrief? Any comments? Just think we're like great on time.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
No.
All right.
Oh, I just would like to say one thing real quickly. I have met so many people already who have congratulated me out in the world. And I have just been very touched by it. Thank all of you for welcoming me so warmly. And also so many parents and families have also. So I just want to say thank you.
All right. Well, with that, I am going to adjourn our meeting at 7:39.